specific combination of fruit, maybe an hour before bed, say, a bowl of tart cherries and some sliced kiwi, is actually more effective at biochemically regulating your sleep cycle than, reaching for a bottle of synthetic melatonin.
I mean, it completely upends how most of us view the produce aisle.
Yeah.
We tend to look at fruit as just simple carbohydrates, maybe some water, and just a vague sense of general health.
Right. You grab an apple because you feel a little guilty about the donut you had at lunch.
Exactly.
We just view it as nature's candy. But our mission for this deep dive today is to completely redefine that perception. We are going to look at fruit not as a snack, but as a collection of complex biochemical software updates.
Software updates, I like that.
Yeah, like each one is specifically tailored for different operating systems in your body.
And we're grounding this entire conversation in a newly compiled, honestly incredibly comprehensive biochemical analysis of 20 specific fruits.
20 of them, wow.
Yeah, and what this data does beautifully is it moves us way past the generic idea that, fruit has vitamins. It isolates the exact micronutrients, the phytochemicals, and fibers, and maps out precisely how they act as metabolic regulators.
Which means we're really getting into the actual mechanics here. We aren't just going to talk about generic health benefits. We want to explore how strategic, diverse fruit consumption literally biohacks your gut infrastructure, your blood flow, and even your neural pathways.
Right. When you look at the raw data, you realize these bioactive molecules, they fundamentally alter the mechanical and chemical efficiency of human physiology.
So to unpack this, I think we have to start at the front door of that physiology, which is digestion.
Hickson.
Because before your body can actually utilize any of these amazing nutrients, it has to efficiently break them down, right? Like if you eat a heavy meal, your body has to produce its own enzymes to dismantle that food.
And that takes a lot of energy.
Exactly. But certain tropical fruits actually bring their own demolition crew to the site.
They really do. They come prepackaged with the exact biochemical tools needed to dismantle the food you eat alongside them. Take the mango, for example.
Okay.
The data highlights that mangoes provide amylases.
Amylases?
Yeah, these are highly specialized digestive enzymes, and they're designed to facilitate the breakdown of complex carbohydrates into simpler sugars.
So the mango is essentially bringing its own biological scissors to, cut up the complex carbs in your stomach.
Precisely. And then look at papaya. Papaya introduces papain.
Right, papain.
Papain is a proteolytic enzyme, meaning its specific function is to cleave, or basically break apart, the tight bonds of proteins.
Oh, wow.
So if you've ever had a heavy protein-dense meal, like a big steak, having papaya introduces this enzyme that does the heavy lifting for your digestive tract.
Wait, I have to ask, though, if these enzymes are so good at breaking down proteins and carbs, are they just digesting the meal or are they digesting the fruit itself?
Well, they do both, but because they are highly active in the environment of your stomach, they act on whatever's present.
Okay, that makes sense.
And while the papaya is dismantling that protein, the papaya is simultaneously delivering a massive dose of lycopene.
Which is an antioxidant, right?
Exactly. It's an antioxidant that specifically targets oxidative stress in your skin tissues. So you are getting a localized digestive benefit and a systemic cosmetic benefit at the very same time.
That is wild. And pineapple does something similar with bromelain, right? But with a twist.
Yes, the bromelain.
Because the analysis shows bromelain is another enzyme complex for protein digestion, but it boasts these powerful anti-edematous properties.
Right, anti-edematous.
Which means it actively reduces fluid retention and swelling in the tissues. So you aren't just digesting food, you're chemically lowering the inflammatory response in your own gut lining.
So we have the enzymes breaking things down. Right? But what happens to the waste? And how do we build the actual infrastructure of the gut?
This is where fiber comes in, I assume.
Yes. And we really have to stop thinking of the fiber as just something you eat, to stay regular. There is some incredible chemistry happening here, particularly with the apple.
Let's get into the apple then. It's rich in pectin. So how does pectin actually function as a mechanical tool in the body?
So pectin is a soluble fiber, and its mechanism is honestly brilliant. When it enters your digestive tract, it turns into a gel-like substance.
A literal gel.
Yeah, a gel. And this gel specifically binds to bile acids. Now, your liver uses your body's circulating cholesterol to manufacture these bile acids to help digest fats.
Okay.
Normally, your body is highly efficient and it just recycles those bile acids back into the system.
But the pectin gel traps them.
Exactly. Pectin acts like a net, binding to the bile acids and physically carrying them out of your body as waste.
Oh, wow.
Because they get carried out, your liver receives a signal. It basically says, hey, we are low on bile acids. We need to manufacture more.
And it needs cholesterol to do that.
Right. And to do that, it pulls LDL, the bad cholesterol, directly out of your bloodstream. So by eating an apple, you are mechanically forcing your liver to lower your body's circulating cholesterol.
That's wild. You're using a physical trap in your gut to basically clean your bloodstream.
Pretty much, yeah.
And while that's happening, the apple is releasing quercetin, which is a flavonoid that acts as a natural antihistamine to sort of soothe the gut lining.
Exactly. It's a multi-pronged approach.
But what about the other fruits? Because pears, plums, and dragon fruit, they're doing entirely different specialized jobs, according to the source.
Right. Let's look at the pear. Pears bring insoluble fiber. Unlike pectin, insoluble fiber doesn't form a gel. It acts more as a physical barrier in the stomach.
Okay.
And that actively slows down the absorption of carbohydrates into the bloodstream. That gives the pear a very low glycemic index, which prevents those massive insulin spikes that lead to metabolic crashes.
And plums. I mean, we all know prunes, dried plums are used as a laxative, but the biochemical reason why is fascinating. It's not just bulk fiber, right? Plums contain sorbitol.
Yes, sorbitol. And the mechanism behind sorbitol is pure osmosis.
Osmosis.
Yeah, it's a sugar alcohol that your body absorbs very, very slowly. Because it sits in the colon, it literally draws water from the surrounding tissues right into the bowel. It hydrates and softens things naturally.
That makes a lot of sense.
But the unsung hero of the plum is actually its phenolic compounds. These compounds actively stimulate osteoblasts.
Osteoblasts being the cells that physically build new bone tissue.
Exactly. So while the sorbitol manages the gut, the phenolic compounds cross into the bloodstream and signal your body to fortify your skeleton.
Wow. Now, out of this entire gut section we're covering, dragon fruit honestly stood out to me the most. We hear constantly about probiotics, taking the healthy bacteria in a pill.
Right. Everyone takes a probiotic.
But dragon fruit delivers prebiotic fiber.
And this is a really crucial distinction. Probiotics are the bacteria themselves. Prebiotics are the specific specialized food that those healthy bacteria need to survive and multiply.
Oh, I see.
Your gut is an ecosystem. Taking probiotics without prebiotics is sort of like, well, just like dropping a herd of cattle into a desert and expecting them to thrive. Dragon fruit actively fertilizes the microbiome.
Which makes me want to push back a little on the whole modern wellness industry. We are constantly sold these expensive probiotic supplements or fancy digestive enzymes in a plastic pill bottle.
Oh, absolutely.
But based on this biochemistry, eating a mango, a dragon fruit, and an apple literally provides the enzymes, the physical waste traps, and the fertilizer for the gut. Are we severely overcomplicating gut health by ignoring the produce aisle?
I really think we are.
Yeah.
And the problem with supplements is that they isolate a single compound.
Right.
Eating the actual fruit introduces a synergistic environment. You aren't just getting the enzyme in a pill, you're getting the enzyme, the hydration, the fiber to slow the absorption, and the antioxidants to repair the tissue.
All working together.
Yes, all perfectly timed by human evolution. It changes the mechanical efficiency of the gut in a way an isolated powder simply cannot.
Okay, so we've broken down the food and we've fortified the gut infrastructure. But if those extracted nutrients just sit there, they're useless. The body has to transport them.
Exactly.
So it's time to look at our cardiovascular system. For the body to thrive, we need clear highways, our blood vessels, and a highly regulated engine, which is the heart.
And this is where the biochemical interventions of fruit become truly systemic. We move from localized digestion to actively altering how blood moves through every capillary in your body.
Let's look at vascular dilation, literally widening the blood vessels. Watermelon, pomegranate, and grapes. I will admit I always just thought of watermelon as, mildly flavored, crunchy water.
Most people do. I mean, it is 92% water, which is fantastic for baseline cellular hydration.
Sure.
But the biological magic of watermelon is an amino acid called citrulline.
Okay, citrulline. What is the actual cascade that happens when citrulline enters the body?
When you consume citrulline, your kidneys convert it into a different amino acid called arginine. Arginine is then utilized by your endothelial cells, those are the cells lining your blood vessels, to produce nitric oxide.
Oh, nitric oxide.
Right. Nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator. It physically signals the smooth muscles surrounding your blood vessels to relax.
So it's opening them up.
You are quite literally widening the diameter of your blood vessels. This dramatically improves blood flow and reduces the physical workload on your heart.
Okay, so going back to our analogy, watermelon is widening the lanes on the highway,
Yes.
and then pomegranate steps in to clear the traffic jams.
That's a brilliant way to conceptualize it, actually.
Uh,
Pomegranate contains these incredibly potent antioxidants called punicolagens and oleic acid.
Punicle legends.
And they don't just float around aimlessly, they actively prevent the oxidation of LDL cholesterol.
Let's define that really quick for everyone. Oxidation is essentially biological rusting, right?
Exactly. When LDL cholesterol oxidizes, it becomes sticky and toxic. And that is the very first step in forming hard plaque on your arterial walls.
Yikes.
So pomegranate compounds intercept that rusting process, preserving the arterial elasticity and actively preventing that plaque buildup.
And then grapes are providing resveratrol,
Right.
which is a polyphenol that protects that delicate inner lining of the blood vessels. So the lanes are wide, the roads are clear, and the pavement is smooth.
Perfect driving conditions.
But what about the engine itself, the heart rhythm and the blood pressure? Let's look at bananas and oranges.
Bananas are universally known as the potassium kings. But we rarely discuss why potassium actually matters.
Right, it's just a buzzword.
It is an electrolyte responsible for intracellular fluid balance.
Hmm.
More importantly, it regulates the electrical signals that tell your heart muscle exactly when and how hard to contract.
Oh, wow.
Without adequate potassium, that normal cardiac electrical rhythm gets chaotic.
Now, wait. I read the data on bananas from the source, and it brings up a really interesting biological trade-off regarding unripe versus ripe bananas.
Yes, the resistant starch.
Right. If I eat a green unripe banana, it's packed with this resistant starch.
Resistant starch is a type of carbohydrate that physically resists digestion in the small intestine. Instead, it travels all the way to the large intestine where it ferments.
Okay.
And this specific fermentation process creates short-chain fatty acids that significantly enhance your body's insulin sensitivity, keeping your blood sugar totally stable.
But here is my confusion with that. If I eat it unripe for the insulin sensitivity, aren't I missing out on the immediate energy I'd get from the simple sugars of a ripe banana? How do we balance that?
It depends entirely on your current metabolic needs at that moment.
Okay.
If you are about to sprint a 5K, you want the fully ripe banana for the readily available glucose.
Sure.
But if you are sitting at a desk all day and want to protect your cardiovascular system from insulin spikes, the unripe banana is the far superior physiological choice. It's really about deploying the right biochemical tool for the job.
That makes perfect sense. Now, what about oranges? We always default to vitamin C, but the data highlights a compound called hesperidin for blood pressure.
Yes, hesperidin is a bioflavonoid. And here is the kicker with this one. It is found mostly in the white, spongy pith of the orange peel.
Wait, the stuff we usually painstakingly pick off and throw away?
Exactly that stuff. Hesperidin has a profound documented effect on lowering high blood pressure and improving the function of the blood vessels.
So we should probably stop perfectly peeling our oranges. Just leave a little pith on there.
It's good for you.
Okay, so the cardiovascular system is optimized. But every good road trip needs a wingman. And according to this analysis, avocado is the ultimate nutrient wingman.
It truly is the great enabler of human nutrition. Avocado is incredibly dense in monounsaturated fatty acids, specifically oleic acid.
Which improves HDL, the good cholesterol. But its real power is how it interacts with other foods on your plate, right?
Precisely. Many of the most critical vitamins your body requires to function, like vitamins A, D, E, and K, are fat-soluble.
Meaning they need fat to be absorbed.
Right? They cannot dissolve in water. So if you eat a massive nutrient-dense salad packed with spinach and carrots, but there is zero dietary fat present, your body simply lacks the chemical vehicle to pull those vitamins across the intestinal wall.
Oh, they just pass right through you.
They just pass right through.
So eating a completely fat-free salad is almost a waste of those specific vitamins.
Biochemically, yes.
Yeah.
By adding avocado, by introducing that oleic acid, you provide the exact lipid vehicle your body requires to bind to those fat-soluble vitamins and transport them into your bloodstream.
That's amazing.
Avocado dramatically amplifies the bioavailability of everything else you're eating.
I love the idea of an avocado acting as a chemical transport vehicle. So digestion is optimized, the cardiovascular highways are wide open, and nutrients are actually being absorbed.
We're doing great.
Now we reach the apex. Optimal health isn't just about fuel. It requires a sharp mind, a strong immune defense, and the ability to repair tissue through deep sleep. This brings us to the final group, The brain boosters, immunity, and recovery specialists.
Because digestion and transport are the mechanics, right? But this final group represents the actual defense and repair mechanisms.
Right.
This is where we see fruits actively combating the wear and tear of daily life. Things like neurodegeneration, systemic inflammation, and oxidative stress.
Let's start with the brain. Blueberries. The analysis calls them the ultimate antioxidant powerhouse, which basically comes down to their anthocyanins.
Anthocyanins are the specific pigment compounds that give blueberries their deep, rich color.
Okay.
But their biological superpower is that they are actually capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier.
Which is a highly selective filter that keeps most things out of the brain, right?
Exactly. The brain is highly guarded. But anthocyanins cross over and act as a sort of rust inhibitor for your neural pathways.
How does that work?
Well, brain cells generate a massive amount of energy, which produces free radicals. These are unstable molecules missing an electron.
Okay.
These free radicals basically bounce around, damaging cellular DNA just to steal electrons. Anthocyanins generously donate their electrons to stabilize those free radicals before they can cause the oxidative damage that leads to cognitive decline.
A rest inhibitor for the brain. That perfectly explains the how. Now, let's circle back to my opening question, because this really blew my mind. Sleep and muscle recovery. Cherries and kiwis.
The sleep salad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always thought serotonin was just a chemical for mood stability, and melatonin was something you bought in a supplement aisle. But fruits are actively manufacturing these.
This is arguably one of the most underutilized biohacks in modern nutrition. Tart cherries are one of the very few natural food sources on Earth that contain actual, highly bioavailable melatonin. Melatonin is the master hormone that dictates your circadian rhythm. When you consume tart cherries, you are dropping a direct chemical signal into your bloodstream, telling your brain to downregulate and prepare for deep sleep.
And what is the kiwi doing in this sleep salad equation? I noticed the data mentions serotonin precursors.
This is where the biological cascade is just fascinating.
Yep.
Serotonin is absolutely a neurotransmitter that makes you feel calm.
Right.
But biochemically, serotonin is the direct chemical precursor to melatonin. Your pineal gland uses serotonin as the raw material to manufacture its own melatonin.
Oh, wow. So the cherry provides the direct melatonin, and the kiwi provides the building blocks for your body to make even more of its own.
Exactly. Kiwis are packed with these precursors, along with vitamin K and the actinitin enzyme. Clinical studies and the data actually show that consuming 2 kiwis an hour before bed actively improves the onset, duration, and efficiency of your sleep architecture.
It really makes you wonder why we reach for pharmaceuticals before trying the produce aisle.
It really does.
Now, if we shift from recovery to active cellular defense and immunity, the data drops another massive surprise. We've been conditioned since childhood to think of oranges as the undisputed champions of vitamin C.
Right, the classic orange juice when you're sick.
But guava actually crushes the orange.
Oh, by a massively wide margin. Guava is the actual heavyweight champion of vitamin C, delivering a profound boost to the immediate immune response by stimulating white blood cell production.
And it doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't. Guava pairs that vitamin C with high dietary fiber and an intense dose of lycopene.
The same lycopene we saw in the papaya.
Yes. And here, the data directly links the specific concentration of lycopene in guava to protecting cellular DNA from the mutations that actually lead to certain cancers.
And strawberries are executing a sort of similar dual-action strategy, right?
Right, yeah.
Because they combine vitamin C with those brain-protecting anthocyanins, but the data shows this specific combination actively improves lipid profiles and boosts insulin sensitivity.
It's a great combination.
And we can't ignore figs. The text notes figs supply heavy doses of calcium for bone health alongside polyphenols to lower systemic inflammation. How exactly do polyphenols lower inflammation?
So inflammation is your immune system's alarm bell. When tissues are damaged by oxidative stress, the body rushes inflammatory markers to the site.
Okay.
Polyphenols intervene at the cellular level. They physically inhibit the enzymes that produce inflammatory cytokines. By basically turning off the chemical switch that triggers the alarm, polyphenols bring systemic whole-body inflammation down to a manageable baseline.
Oh, I see.
And because figs pair this with calcium, you are protecting the bones while soothing the surrounding tissues.
I want to touch on one more before we synthesize all of this. Energy and hydration. The coconut. The analysis calls it a biological 2-for-1.
It is the perfect encapsulation of a functional food. Inside the coconut, the water is an absolute electrolyte powerhouse.
Right, coconut water.
It is so perfectly balanced with potassium, magnesium, and sodium that its electrolyte profile almost perfectly mimics human blood plasma.
Wait, really? Mimics blood plasma.
Yes, which allows for rapid cellular level rehydration.
It's basically nature's perfect sports drink.
Exactly. But the flesh of the coconut is entirely different. It provides medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs,
I know the keto community talks about MCTs constantly, but why do they matter mechanically?
because they bypass the normal rules of human digestion.
Hmm,
Most dietary fats have to go through a long, complex breakdown process involving the bile acids we talked about earlier.
right.
MCTs are uniquely structured, so they bypass all of that. They're transported directly from the gut to the liver, where they are metabolized almost instantly into ketones.
Providing an immediate, incredibly clean source of energy for the brain and muscles without causing an insulin spike.
Exactly. Hydration in the center and rapid-fire fuel in the flesh.
So when we zoom out and look at all 20 of these fruits, from the digestive enzymes of the papaya to the vascular dilation of the watermelon to the neural rust inhibition of the blueberry, what is the grand synthesis of this data? What's the takeaway?
The absolute most critical physiological principle for you to take away is the necessity of variety. Fruits are not interchangeable.
Okay.
If you just eat a banana every single day, you are getting fantastic potassium for your heart rhythm, but you are completely starving your body of the cherry's melatonin, the apple's bile acid trap, and the pomegranate's plaque-clearing ellagic acid.
So eating the exact same fruit every day severely limits the spectrum of metabolic pathways you're activating.
Precisely. To truly lower the risk of chronic diseases, whether it's cardiovascular disorders, diabetes, or neurodegeneration, you have to continuously diversify the phytochemicals you introduce to your system.
Right.
The diversity of the produce aisle is your greatest, most accessible tool for systemic human health.
You have to install all the different software updates, not just reboot the same one over and over. I absolutely love that. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden biochemistry of the fruit bowl. It completely changes how I will navigate the grocery store from now on.
It's been great.
But before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over based on the sheer biological specificity we've uncovered today. We've seen how different fruits have highly specialized, almost pharmaceutical functions. Papaya acting as a protein cleaver, watermelon physically widening blood vessels, cherries directly altering brain chemistry for sleep.
It's powerful stuff.
If these foods are effectively biological software updates, could the future of medicine be hyper-personalized fruit prescriptions? Imagine a world where, instead of a doctor vaguely advising you to eat a balanced diet, your smartwatch analyzes your daily metabolic data, your blood pressure, your localized inflammation, your sleep debt, and prints out a highly specific daily biochemical prescription. It tells you to consume exactly 50 grams of tart cherry, half a cup of pomegranate, and a slice of unripe banana to mathematically correct your specific physiological imbalances that day. The medicine is already fully engineered and growing on the trees. We just have to learn how to expertly prescribe it. Think about that the next time you reach for a piece of nature's pharmacy.